So the more I think about it, I think we need to actually change the pace from an integer to a decimal. And the reason for that is because I'm figuring out like how to calculate pace right now. And I'm realizing that the pace is going to end up having a decimal point in it. So for example, let's say you went out for a 65-minute run, right? So it was 65 minutes and it was 10 miles. 65 divided by 10 is 6.5. And that would be the pace, which would be 6.5 minutes per mile, or 6:30. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. But when it's saved to the database, it's going to be 6.5. So right now, our schema is only expecting an integer, and what we want to do is actually make that a decimal. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to do Rails generate migration convert pace from integer to decimal. And I don't know if I can actually pass anything in here. So I'm going to use this method here. I don't know if I can like run a migration and like have it magically figure it out, but that's okay. So that ran. This is empty. I'm actually going to leave this as def up. And the reason for that is change means that it can be reversible. So for example, if I run this migration and change it from an integer to a decimal, that'll make sense, but I don't necessarily know if it's going to know how to, if I roll back that migration, which basically means like I want to reverse it, I want to undo it, I don't think it's going to know what to change it to. So let's do define up. So then in here, I'm going to say, I'm going to add that. It's just like it's not going to know how to handle that. So let's go back to here. So we want to change the column from integer to decimal. So in this case, products would be activities. Part number would actually be pace. And this should be decimal. And I also want to see if I want to have that precision in there. So, or at least scale. I'm not sure what the precision could be because I'm converting everything, and I'm going to do some calculations here. Like I'm going to convert the duration into seconds and then do some math to figure out the pace, but the pace will always be in miles per hour. And off the top of my head, I don't know like how much I should give for space here, because people run at very different paces. So like for example, if you're like in pretty good shape, you might run 7-minute miles for a run, but not everybody runs that pace, and 7-minute miles in seconds is different than minutes and whatnot. But at the very least, I just want to have 2 decimal points, or 2 points after the decimal point. So let's see if I can run this. And we have strong migration set up, so it might actually raise some type of exception. Okay, so let's see here. Changing the type of an existing column blocks reads and writes for all the entire. A safer approach is to create a new column, write to both columns, backfill the data. Okay, let's see here. Did anything actually happen? No, nothing happened. So this is we're kind of in a tricky spot here because this application isn't live and I haven't pushed this code up anywhere. It's not actually being run on the database anywhere. So I got to think about this here. All right, so after some thought, I'm actually just I'm gonna try to follow the instructions here. Why not? So I want to delete this migration that I just created. And I'm actually looking at the docs here. So let's create a new column. So Rails, close this out, generate migration. I'm going to call it add calculated pace to activities. And it's going to be calculated pace, decimal, and we'll leave it at that. So calculated pace, decimal. So add column, and we want to do a scale of 2. Get status, let's do Rails DB migrate. Okay, so precision cannot be left empty, scale as specified, so I'm just going to leave this off for now. It's okay. So that ran successfully after that little change. So now we have calculated pace and pace. So this is okay. I guess this is a little more expressive too. It says like, because we're going to actually calculate this, I don't think we're going to let a user set their pace. So it's more expressive. And now, so we don't actually have any data in the database for this because we haven't pushed this code up to any type of environment. Although I guess you can make the case that like because this is an open source project, there's a chance someone could have pulled this down and started working on it, and they might have data in their database somewhere, but it's very unlikely. So I'm not going to go through the hassle of like migrating data from the pace column to the calculated pace column. Although if this app was up and running and there was even just one user on the app, I would have to do that. But we'll save some time because we know we don't have to do that. So we create a new column. We don't need to do this. We don't need a backfill. We don't need to do that. So now we want to drop that column, which is the pace column. So let's go up here and we'll say remove pace from activities, and then I think we have to still specify the column. So pace and then integer. And I think strong migrations will get upset about this, but there's a workaround. So pace and then integer. Do this. So remove column, pace, integer. So this is good. I'm pretty sure strong migrations is going to give us a workaround for this though. So Rails DB migrate. Yeah, so we want to do. So let's ignore the column. And this is more like if we had the app in production, but that's okay. Let's just follow this. And then wrap this in a safely assured. We can be a little more lax on this stuff. Like normally I would want to add that. So I would want to have added this and then pushed that code up to Heroku, for example. And then next I would want to run this, do this and run the migration. But because we're not actually, we don't have our application live yet, and because we're on a different branch, we're on this activity model branch, we're not actually pushing up to master, so we can be a little more lax about this. So let's see, where is that? Do that, clear this out, and then the Rails DB migrate. Okay, so let's go to our schema file, see what's going on here. Yeah, so that the pace was removed, so now we have calculated pace, and we no longer have that integer field for pace. So this is good. Let me just run let's just run the test suite, because sometimes this stuff breaks things. And actually I'm wondering if our fixtures are broken because they might reference the pace field. Looks like they're fine though. But yeah, like if we went into here, so that's one thing with like these migrations and fixtures is like sometimes the fixtures break because you change the column. And actually I'm realizing I should probably add a duration in here because this would not be valid. So duration, let's say 1. So get status. So let's add so let's commit this. Let's say replace pace column with calculated pace column. And then I want to keep this separate in a separate commit. So we'll just say get add a, get commit, make fixture valid. Get status and get push.